Hi, good day to you. Welcome back to the third part of the second episode. We have already covered the international and the national news. I think it's time to go to the states. To start off, we have a series of good news from the North India. UP government seeks a huge loan from Asian Development Bank to set right its electricity distribution system, including ensuring theft-proof cable and a separate distribution lines for farmers. Now, what you are able to see over here is that slowly the state electricity boards are beginning to start thinking on cutting down their losses. They are also not thinking to be purely a welfare state as a corporation, but rather for the governments to fund any promises given to the voters. So when you're going to have separate distribution line for farmers, I think it's a precursor to seeing that there's going to be a direct benefit transfer to the farmers for any free electricity supplied for farming operations. And we also have this notorious history of UP, where there's a lot of power theft happening by using a hook or and hook and crook method. And by having ensuring that there are theft proof cables, you're going to not only see they're going to plug the leakages in the system, but they're also going to increase the revenue earning opportunities for the state government. It's a very positive move, and though taking the loan is the only option available, over a period of time, through better collections and the state EB electricity boards and distribution systems becoming profitable, repaying the loan wouldn't be a challenge. The second major initiative that has been taken over once again by the UP government has been they have inked the deal with bankers to develop the Bundelkhand expressway. This is a 5,900 crore expressway. Now, this is one of the historically backward regions in Uttar Pradesh and somehow has not participated extensively in the infrastructure development so far. UP already had initiated a couple of expressways in the form of Purvanchal Expressway, which followed the Yamuna Expressway that has happened over a period of time. So this Bundelkhand Expressway is once again going to reach out to the substantial mass of rural people, and it's definitely going to help the farming producers come to the markets in Delhi and other places, and also it will lay the foundation for industrial units to go to these backward regions and set up their plant, because the labor is going to be cheap and there's also going to be a local market available to them. The third is a very blockbuster development by Uttar Pradesh government. It is set out to go ahead and sign the contract for developing the Jiwar airport, which is going to be an alternate to this is very close to Noida, and it is going to be an alternate to the existing Delhi airport. And apart from developing that airport, they are also thinking of developing a lot of clusters of industrial units around it. One of the clusters they have thought about is to have an industrial estate only for manufacture of toys, and they had floated a small expression of interest tender, and nearly 92 applicants have already submitted their proposal to set up a domestic manufacture of toys in these units. So a total of 100 acres of land spread across 155 plots of different sizes are going to be awarded to this manufacturer. So just like in the previous part 2 of the episode 2, we had discussed about how from September 1st there's going to be increased focus on manufacturing of toys in India. This toy industrial plots that are going to come is going to create a good ecosystem for toys. This will not only take care of the national needs because it's closer to the Jewar airport, it's going to take care of the export needs as well. It's a very well conceived concept of having industrial clusters which are going to specialize in certain items, because then training and availability of labor is going to be much more easier. The next is a very important development. Once again, we discussed a little bit about UP's electricity board. Andhra Pradesh has become the first state government to go and announce that all the the payment of electricity bills for agricultural power consumers is going to be transferred to the account of the farmers through the direct benefit transfer. Now, we have all heard of this direct benefit transfer and experienced it for all the gas connections. People who have gas connection, and the subsidy element to the gas is actually being given to people through the direct benefit transfer. Now, once again, the farming, supply of free electricity to the farming sector has been a perennial resource of drain for the electricity boards, and that has been one of the primary reasons why the state electricity boards and and discoms have been on loss-making things. Slowly, it's a very welcome development in India that slowly the states are beginning to realize this, and just as a matter of fiscal prudence and bringing in the modernity of using finance effectively to benefit people from the budgetary provisions rather than the corporations distribution, Andhra Pradesh has taken this huge step of deciding to make the direct benefit transfer for the bills relating to the payment of electricity bills for the farming operations. The next one is a very interesting concept which is being pioneered by a state like Delhi. Obviously, it has to do it because Delhi is a state which has always suffered due to pollution. When winter comes, which is just setting about right now, there are going to be stubble burnings and after the wheat harvest in Punjab and Haryana, and then you're going to have smogs happening in Delhi. And when smogs happen, everything from rail transport to air transport vastly gets reduced, and it's been a perennial problem. So Delhi somehow has been wanting to work on this pollution problem, and they were one of the pioneers by bringing in compressed natural gas based bus systems into the country, into their state, into their capital. Their public transport system started using compressed natural gas, and then the autos were asked to be used compressed natural gas, and therefore you had a good gas distribution system coming across the national capital. Then subsequently, Delhi also was, after Kolkata, of course, on a large scale introduced the metro system so that people can start using public transport aggressively instead of using private transport, because public transport in Delhi was a cultural shift. Unlike Mumbai, Delhi or Kolkata, where people are used to public transport, Delhi never was culturally oriented to using a public transport. But metro system has been able to do it. It has been able to reduce the pollution to a large extent. The third major step that they have taken is to encourage use of electric vehicles, and to do that, Delhi government has announced that it is not only going to provide subsidies for use of electric vehicles, it's also going to give rebates. The subsidies could range anywhere between 30,000 for two-wheelers and 1.5 lakhs for cars, passenger cars, and it is this will once again substantially reduce the emissions from fuel. And what they have also very interestingly done, that announced, that is that they will waive off the road tax and registration fee for electric vehicles. So this will make it even more competitive, and it will make it even more attractive to consumers to go and buy these vehicles, because anyway the cost of ownership is almost very less. But what is very interesting is the government has come out and said the transfer of these subsidies will be once again through direct benefit transfer. So what we are seeing in India is an ecosystem or a thought process where governments are beginning to start adopting this methodology, where any subsidies will be given through direct benefit transfer, thanks to the Aadhaar system, which is making it really possible and ensuring that the money reaches to the intended person. Another very interesting development that has come up on its own without any government pressure, but a top sugar federation in Maharashtra is encouraging factories to cut down the production of sugar. We don't hear this kind of stuff earlier, but this is another major initiative. So what they have told is India is a country which produces close to 310 lakh tons of sugar every year against a requirement of only 250 lakh metric tons of sugar. And even after a buffer stock of 3 to 4 months, there is so much of surplus sugar available in the country. We do have exports coming up, but I think sometimes the prices are not remunerative enough. So what this federation has suggested is to instead reduce the production of sugar, and to instead focus on creating ethanol production. Now ethanol could actually, if you see that countries like Brazil has adopted higher percentage of ethanol mixed to the fuel. Now ethanol can be mixed to your petroleum fuel, and then thereby the consumption of petroleum fuel can be brought down, and ethanol can be a good substitute for that, and the percentage of mixing can be substantially increased if there is sufficient availability of ethanol. The next major initiative which we touched earlier, but that has come to fruit, is that Zurich International Airport has been selected. Zurich Airport International has been selected as the bidder for developing the greenfield airport at Jewar. Now this is good because obviously Zurich is going to bring the world-class standards into this, because JEOR is going to be an alternate airport to what we already have in Delhi, and this is going to be developed by Zurich through a special purpose vehicle called Yamuna International Airport Private Limited. The whole project is for Zurich to design, build, develop a completely new airport, which is why we call it as a greenfield airport at in the 165-kilometer Yamuna Expressway. So the connectivity to Delhi is assured. This will be spread over 5,000 hectares, and once it's completed, this will be the biggest airport in India with 8 runways, and that will cater to around 70 million passengers by the year 2040-2050. The first phase is expected to be completed by 2023. The work is going to start anytime soon, and this is one of the ways that we are beginning to look forward or ahead of time. Usually India has been reactive in its approach with respect to infrastructure. Now this is one of the ways where we are going to look at proactively. Viewers, we have a lot more to come with respect to infrastructure, because during this period a whole lot of discussion and policies and developments have happened with respect to the infrastructure space, and I would request you to wait a little bit longer to hear more about the infrastructure developments. Please wait for our next part of the same episode, which will be released shortly. Until then, I request you to just stay healthy and stay happy. Thank you so much.